All right, let's take a look at the last 6 problems on the review. The first 2 are parabolas. It says so in the direction, so that helps. And it's good to know what you're trying to end up with before you start. So just realize since we have the x squared, we're going to have the LOR and then minus some k value, and that's going to be equal to the x minus h squared. So we want to have 3 parts here. We want to have the x squared on the right-hand side. We want to have the y values on the left-hand side. And then we're going to have some LOR in the very front. So let's put it in this format as much as we can from the very beginning. Another thing we want to make sure is that this part on the right-hand side is positive. Right, positive. Meaning right here, we can see that we have the x squared right here. It's 2x squared and it's already positive. So it's easiest just to leave this alone since it's positive and then move these other parts to the other side. So that cancels this out. Now it's equal to negative y plus 2. Now, we're used to having it this format with this y on the left-hand side. That's why I said it's good to know what you're trying to end up with. So since we want the y on the left-hand side in the end, let's rewrite this with the y on the left side. So I'm just switching it around using the reflexive property because I know I want the squared to be on the right-hand side and the y to be on the left-hand side per my format here. Now, we have a positive, but we have a 2 in the front. We have a coefficient. So we always looked at this and said that the way to complete the square would be easy if there was no number here. So we're going to factor that 2 out. Basically, I divided both of these by 2, making it one smaller, and I left the room here to complete the square. Now, on the right-hand side, let me just set this up. There we go. So I know I need to add the same number to both sides. So what completes the square here? Right, we'll get a 4. Right, that's half of negative 2. Half of negative 4 is negative 2, and you square it, you get 4. However, since I'm adding 4 here and it's inside the parentheses, right, it's really on the right-hand side, I added positive 8. I added a 4 here, which is 2 times 4 is 8. Okay, so that's how I complete the square there. Okay, this comes from 4 times 2. We can simplify this together, so we have negative y plus 10. The right-hand side will be 2, and now I can simplify this to x minus 2 squared. So I'm pretty close to this format right now. Right, I got this squared part right here, so this is looking good. Okay, I have the yellow part right here. However, you can see that the LOR, which should be on the left, is still over here. That 2, we need to move this to be over here. There we go. So the way we're going to do that is just divide both sides by 2. So that's the same as multiplying by a half, by the way. So what I'm going to do is rewrite this like so. And we do have this little negative in the front, so I'm also going to take that out and put that in front. So it's a positive y, which will make this a minus 10. And now the right-hand side will just be the x-coordinate. Right? And this will be the final answer for this problem. So it's just about making sure all the pieces are in the right place. Let's take a look at another one, very similar, but we have the y value, that's squared. So the form we're trying to get here is going to be the LLR, right? And then we're going to have x minus k, or h actually. And then we'll have the y minus k squared. So the squared's on the right-hand side with always, this time it's y. So once again, we can look at this and see Let's see here, we got the y and we got the y. It's already positive. So much like before, I am going to move the other parts to the other side. Okay. And I'm going to rewrite it with those parts on the left, leaving just the y values on the right. Okay. And we can set this up to complete the square, factor out this 2. So we'll have negative 15. Then we'll have some number that completes the square. We're going to factor out this 2 and leave a little bit of space to complete that square. All right. So what number completes the square here? Half of negative 6 is negative 3. Negative 3 squared is 9. And again, we didn't just add 9 to the right-hand side since it's inside the parentheses. We added 18. Because 2 times 9 on the right-hand side is 18. Same thing here. So this is from 2 times 9. And then we can simplify this. So we got negative x. We have plus 3 equals, right, the 2y minus 3 quantity squared. And we're very close to finishing. Just like the last time, we need to divide by this 2 on both sides. Okay. And I'm also going to take out this negative right here. So I'm going to end up with a 1/2 from dividing by 2 or multiplying by half, and then take out the negative. Right? So I'll have x minus 3 equals y minus 3 squared. Okay, let's continue on to the circle. Okay, 2 parts of a circle. 13 is very straightforward. We just have to know the general form. So we'll have center with an x value of 5, so it'll be minus 5 squared. And we'll have y minus 12 squared. And we'll have the radius squared, which is 4. So this is the only one we don't actually write 2 squared, we put the 4. And that's all we have to do for 13. 14, we have to complete the square a few times. So realize our format looks like this. We have the x's squared, and then the y squared, and then the r squared on the other side. This is just the number, right? So we want to put the number on the right-hand side. Okay. And we'll set this up here with the x's together. So I'm going to put the x's together, leave room to complete the square. Then I'm going to put the y's together, plus y squared is 26y. Complete that square. It's going to be equal to my r squared. So that's the setup. X's together, leave a space. Y's together, leave a space, equals to some number. Now to complete the square, do the same thing we did before. We have to take half of this number, negative 4, and then square it. That's positive 4, and add that to both sides. Same thing here. Half of 26 is 13. 13 squared is 169, and add that to both sides. So these 3 and these 3 will now factor to x minus 2 squared and y plus 13 squared. On the right-hand side, do the arithmetic, and this will come out to equal 16. All right, lastly, let's do some ellipses and hyperbola. Same idea, it's just that we have some more numbers here. So we're going to combine what we just did with the parabola and the circle, both of the steps combined. So let's first set it up. Like the last one, we have the x's, right? We have the y's, and we have a number that just should be on the other side. So let's do the setup. We'll have the x's first, so 9x squared plus 72x, and then we'll have the 4y squared minus the 40y And that should equal positive 80. Now, what we had to do before with the parabolas is that we have a number in the front here. The 9's in front of the x squared, the 4's in front of the y squared, and we had to factor that out in the parabolas. We'll do the same thing here. So I'm going to factor out a 9. And then leave a space to complete the square. Same thing here. I'm going to factor out the 4. And then leave a space to complete the square. So here we'll have half of 8 is 4. 4 squared is 16. And like before, I'm not adding 16 here. I'm adding 9 times 16. 9 times 16 instead, which is 144. And over here, I'm going to do half of negative 10 is negative 5. Negative 5 squared is 25. But I'm really adding 4 times 25, which is 100. And so now we have 9, right? And this will be x plus 4 squared. Then we'll have 4, this will be y minus 5 squared. And on the right-hand side, just add those all up, and we'll get 324. Now, the standard format has the right-hand side equal to 1, and it also has values underneath each of the x and y. So to get that, we'll just divide by whatever the right-hand side comes out to be. We'll divide it by that, so it ends up equaling 1. So always divide by whatever number this is, divide by that. And we'll do that, of course, everywhere. And these numbers will always be compatible, so you don't have to worry about getting decimals here. So we have x plus 4 squared all over, and you just find out how many times does 9 go into 324, or 324 divided by 9, and you'll get 36. Again, should be some nice numbers. And same thing here, how many times does 4 go into 324, and you'll get 81, and then the y minus 5 is on the top. And there's your standard form. Okay, lastly, hyperbola. Same idea, but there's a negative here. Kind of like the first 4 problems, we have to watch out. If there's a negative with 2 squares, that's a hyperbola. So let's rewrite everything. And now, if you get better at this, you might kind of see what you need to do ahead of time. We already know these x's go together, and that they're both a factor of 9, so you could start doing some of these steps combined if you get really good at this. And then the y squared will have plus 12y equals negative 45. So I did a lot in one step there. And I factored everything out. You'll notice I took a negative out here. That's why this is a positive 12, not a negative 12. And I also moved the 45 to the other side to make it a negative 45. All right, so let's complete the square. We have, let's see here, half of 10 is 5, so that we're going to get 25. And then we'll have to add 9 times 25 to both sides. So that's 225. Add to both sides. Next, we're going to have to take half of this, which is going to be 6. So that's 36. See here, we got a negative 1 here. So we'll have to subtract 36 here. All right, so let's simplify everything. We have color black. So we'll have our 9, and now this is factored to x plus 5 squared minus y plus 6 squared. And this right-hand side, do the arithmetic, comes out to 144. And just like before, we need this to equal 1 on the right-hand side, so divide by itself. And of course, we have to do that everywhere. Okay. So that will give us 9 goes into 144 16 times, so we'll have a 16 on the bottom. There is no number on here to cancel out, so I'll just stay 144. Okay. And then we'll have the x plus 5, the minus, and the y plus 6. And that's our hyperbola.